you might see right now a little bit different backdrop than you've seen for every video over the last couple months as we've been doing this. I'm sitting in what's called a pod. It's a portable storage unit, and it's in my backyard, so you might hear some lovely birds chirping and whatnot. So pod is a portable storage unit. Some people bring them on site to store stuff when they're doing a renovation. Some people will get them for moving, and you can, pack them up and then they get dropped off where you're moving. And as you can see behind me, we have a whole lot of our household goods. There's a couple dining room chairs, some boxes of random stuff. There's a cot. On one side of me, you can't really see it completely. There's this lovely wooden shelf thing that I bought Elizabeth for our first anniversary or first Christmas or something like that. So what you see is a whole bunch of my household stuff packed up. We're in the middle of moving, and it's always a very revealing time. I don't know if you've ever moved before. I've moved a lot. I didn't from when I was very young, but from the time I went off to college, I moved and moved and moved. This is the longest place we've been since my childhood home growing up. And when you move, it's very revealing of how much stuff you have and how much you hold on to things that you don't really need. It's very revealing of what you value and the amount of time and energy and emotion you put into stuff. And then there's things that you're just like, I'm never going to use this again. And you have to throw out things that you've spent perfectly good money on. We're in our last 4 messages of my time serving you guys as youth director. And if you watched the video last week, if you didn't watch the video last week, first off, you're a slacker and you need to go back and do it. But if you watched the video last week, you heard me say that what I want to try and do is just kind of have things that, if there's anything I could leave you with from my time of knowing you guys and knowing a few generations of you as students and just seeing people come up through elementary school, middle school, high school, and even out of college. Some of you watching this are out of college, maybe who came up through our youth group. And so I just want to kind of give some final thoughts, if you will, or whatever. I can't even talk. I'm actually recording this on Saturday afternoon. I'm about to hop a plane again in a few hours to head back to Nashville to do some more house hunting. But so in our final thoughts, we're once again in Matthew chapter 6, which I would challenge you and I would encourage you to, on your own time, sit down and read Matthew 5, 6, and 7. It's one of the more challenging places of Scripture. I once heard it said it's not the parts of the Bible that I don't understand that I have a problem with. It's the parts of the Bible that I understand perfectly well that I do nothing about. Think about that. There's a lot that's confusing, but there's a lot that's crystal clear that, man, you and I need to really work on. And so our verses for tonight, or for whenever you're watching this, morning, midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever your deal is, no judgment here. Our verses are actually the verses right before the ones we looked at last week. In Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 19, says this. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust can destroy, where thieves can break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and thieves and rust cannot destroy. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Don't store up treasures in heaven, don't store up treasures on earth, but store up for treasures in heaven." And it's not because having stuff is a bad thing. I like what Jesus says, is he says, because where your treasure is, that's where your heart is going to be. Where's your heart? Is your heart on Amazon Prime? Some of you are raising your hands and you know you're guilty of that. Where your treasure, it's not talking about a treasure chest with gold and diamonds and all that. It's talking about what you value most, what you treasure as a person. Because that's where your heart's going to be. What's wrong with that? Well, not necessarily anything in general, except for if you have your heart set on something and you think it's going to fulfill you and you think it's going to give you the ultimate satisfaction, and then it doesn't. There's a lot of stuff that we're packing up. There's a lot of stuff even in this trailer or this pod. There's a lot of stuff in our house that I had to have. I'm that kind of a person. So I obsess over something and I just research it and I look it up and I try and find a good deal and I wait and I save and I gotta have it, and it's all I can think about. And I'm looking and trying to find something and the amount of heart that I put into stupid things. Right behind me, I can see there's a dining room chair that's upside down. Our dining room table was my parents' dining room table that they got as a wedding gift. So cool. It's not a fancy table, but the chairs that went with it just disintegrated years ago. Me as a kid and wooden chairs, they did not hold up. And so when we moved into this house and we finally had room for a dining room, we had metal chairs for a while, which is pretty classy. They may or may not have been borrowed from the church. I will neither confirm nor deny that. But then I was like, I got to get some chairs. And I went on this quest and I was scouring Craigslist. This was before Facebook Marketplace was a thing. And every day I was looking within a 100-mile radius, and I had to find, and so I'm looking and I'm offering people certain amounts for ones they have. And these ones, excuse me, these ones I finally found. They were way out almost near Keene, and they were big. They were a good deal. And they're fine, but they're chairs. And the amount of time and emotional energy that I invested into making sure I find just the right dining room chairs. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be. There's nothing wrong with having nice dining room chairs. I love them. They're comfy. I eat a lot of food on them. But what's the state of my heart? What is the focus of my life? Again, these are all perfectly innocent. I swear I do not have the Rona. These are all perfectly innocent things. They're not harming my soul in any way, but it does reveal where your heart is. That's where you'll spend time. I had a professor that used to say that love is spelled T-I-M-E. You literal people will be very upset with me because no, it's not. Love is spelled L-O-V-E. We show love by spending time. The people you love the most, you want to spend time with them because you love them. What you spend time on, what you spend your energy on, shows what you love. Let's go to the next verses. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. If your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? The eye is the lamp. What are you looking at? What are you harping over? What are you spending time on? What you feed into your body, what you feed into your mind, what you feed into your eyes is going to affect your soul. Are you watching things online that is destroying your soul? I've been there. Not even necessarily overtly bad things, but just mindless nothingness for hours and days. Are you feeding your mind and your heart and your soul with God and His Word and getting to know Him, the ultimate Savior and the ultimate real life giver? Are you spending even a fraction of time getting to know Him that you are getting to know and digging into your favorite character on your latest show on Netflix? I'm guilty too. Then the last set of verses says this: no one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. No one can serve two masters. Now, we don't really live in a slave culture necessarily in our part of the world. But the idea is whatever controls us is our master. Jesus happens to use the example of money. For some people, especially adults, that can be a real big master. You just got to get the next dollar. You just got to get the next promotion. You just got to close the next sale so you can have more money, so you can get another thing. And money becomes a master of people. Jobs can become a master of people. You got to get the promotion. You got to get the title. You got to get the status. For some people, for some parents, their kids can become their master. And some of you are like, yeah, I'm the master of my house. And everything they do, everything they are just exists to revolve around that person or those kids. For some of you, getting into the right school is your master. That's all you care about. Like, if I can just get that name, if I can just get into that school so I can have that shirt, so I can make that Instagram post revealing where I'm going. Again, I'm not knocking. These aren't bad things. I'm just saying some of these things can become our master. And what Jesus says, you can't serve two masters. There has to be one leader. What and who is leading your life? Is it going to be God? Or is it going to be something that can fit in a pod? That was a very unintentional rhyme. I'm not about that, but I'm just going to go with it. I'll be packing up my office, and I got a diploma from a college, and it was a big deal, and it's great. I mean, I think it's on my wall at church somewhere. It's a good thing. I've been working towards a master's degree, and someday I'd really like to finish that, get that diploma from my wall. But I gotta have one master. There's only room in our heart to be truly led by one thing. There has to be one thing that's leading. One thing that's driving the boat or whatever. My dad used to say something like, the tail can't wag the dog. It's got to be the other way around. What and who are we letting rule our lives? I would challenge you that anything other than God is going to disappoint you. Because you're going to put godly expectations on a career path or a relationship or a thing or stuff or a status or a home or a dining room chairs to fulfill you. And for a while, it's going to be awesome. And then there's going to be something better, or it's not going to quite, it'll kind of fade. The magic of the butterflies in your stomach when you first get into a relationship will fade, and you'll realize, wow, this person has issues just like I do, and we kind of butt heads, and it was magical for a while, but it's not as magical as it used to be. None of those things are designed to fulfill us. They're all just good things. Just add to our lives. You see the difference? It's not anything, any status, any relationship, any career, any stuff is ever bad. I mean, it can be bad when we make it an idol. But what is most important? Because things need to be in their place. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. No one can serve two masters. You got to pick. Is it going to be God, or is it going to be that relationship that you're in or that you're hoping for? Is it going to be God, or is it going to be that career path? Is it going to be God, or is it going to be getting into the school of your dreams? Is it going to be God, or is it going to be winning the lottery so you can buy all the junk you could ever want and have a nice, big, magical house with an indoor bowling alley and servants waiting on you hand and foot? I've never experienced that, but I would imagine even that would lose its joy after a while. So that's my challenge to you. You can't serve two masters. Eventually, you're going to have to pack it all up and put it in a pod. And you're going to look at things and say, wow, I spent a lot of time worrying about that. It really didn't matter as much as I thought it would. You will never, this is my parting thought for this message, you will never look back on any time you spent giving over your life to God and investing in your connection with Him. You will never look back and say, man, I wish I didn't do that, and I wish I spent more time buying stuff. God is the only thing that's designed to give us life. Jesus says in John chapter 10, verse 10, I have come to give you life and give it to the full. You can't serve two masters, friends. It's either God or something else that's not God. And it's up to you. And that's a decision you make not once, but you make over and over and over again, and you make with God's help. Please know I'm praying for you all. I really miss being with you guys, and I'm really bummed that we can't do this in person. We'll talk to you soon.